Welcome back, Fragrance Fiend here today with Slow Dance by Byredo, one of their woody amber releases from 2019. The brand describes this fragrance as a rites-of-passage moment for both boys and girls before they meet metamorphosis into woman and men. Slow Dance mixes ideas of the feminine and masculine, bitter and sweet, in a rich, intoxicating distillation, redolent of a warm skin and breathless exchange. Anyway, it does continue on, but the way they describe it perfectly matches what this scent is. But enough about that, let's get right into it. So in the top you have Opopanax with a heart of Geranium, Labdanum and Violet, lastly with a base of vanilla and Patchouli. Such an incredible scent, it's so mature, sophisticated, yet sweet and fun-loving at the same time. It's so hard to find a good, sweet scent for people of a certain age group, especially feminine ones, because they tend to lean like a little too childish in a way for a lot of sweeter scents, or they're too cloying, sickly sweet, or just too over the top, and quite syrupy as well. But this one is just that perfect type of vanilla scent, which is like a warm, cozy embrace. But it is a lot more complex than that, as it does have quite a bit of a resinous and balsamic tonality as well. That Opopanax gives it a very incense-like quality. That opening does last for quite a while though, and blends quite evenly into the heart as that begins to develop. The Geranium is somewhat minimal, but then the Labdanum, which is also quite reminiscent of Labdanum 18, kind of kicks in. That's by Le Labo, by the way. Absolutely love Labdanum. It's a very unusual note. It's actually from rock rose. When it begins to heat up too much from the sunlight, a resin begins to coat that species of rock rose, and that is the Labdanum. And then lastly, you've got that Violet, which does kind of sit in the background. It's quite minimalistic. I'm not a massive fan of Violet because it is quite sharp, but in contrast to the rest of the notes, it really does fit in. And that aroma chemical is derived from alpha isomethyl iodine. And while they don't use real vanilla, and it is quite a premium price tag, paying 404 Australian dollars for this, other prices here, and that's for 100ml. I use both coumarin and cinnamon to give it almost that very mild, spicy, vanilla-y type of texture. And from the ingredient list as well, which is different obviously to the note breakdown, they actually use eugenol, which gives it a very clove-like spiciness. As it begins to dry down, that vanilla does kick into overdrive, while the patchouli gives it a very earthy texture as well. While altogether blending those earthy, balsamic, resinous, vanilla-y tones, it's just a bomb of sweet warmthness, but once again, not too overbearing. It really does blend the likability, I guess, of what people like in designer fragrance with that niche quality, that niche texture. So in the perfume industry, I guess there is quite a bit of an overlap with vanilla-based perfumes that don't tend to differentiate themselves from others too much. As mentioned earlier, it does have other aspects which make this one different, but at the end of the day, you can probably get away with a slightly more cheaper perfume and get a very similar effect, if not more powerful, as the performance is above average, but for the price tag, you expect something a little more. This is quite literally coming from the top of my head, but now that I look at my collection, if you compare something like Wild Vanilla Orchid to Marrakesh by Aesop, combine them together, you essentially get something in that ballpark. Performance isn't bad, it just could be better for what you're paying. You're still going to get above average for Byredo, which is a blessing considering it is Byredo, but you still will get about 8+ hours if you spray it on your clothing, 10 or more, which you certainly can't complain about. After that 4-hour mark though, it will begin to lose some of its projection and sit a little more like a skin scent. It is definitely one of the better performers from Byredo in their general eau de parfum collection, let alone the extracts. But if you have the money to justify this one, it's definitely a great addition to the collection, especially if you're not a fan of those over-intoxicating, sweet, syrupy vanilla scents. This is a really good middle ground. Even though it is unisex fragrance, I guess it kind of leans a little more to the feminine side. There's nothing really stating that it's feminine whatsoever beside that sweet element, while the balsamic and resinous undertones give it a little bit more of a masculine edge, but I think it's for anyone. Even from the atomizer alone, it just radiates perfection. So yeah, overall, this one just makes sense. It is what it's claiming to be. The name correlates to the scent is carried out perfectly. The quality does mostly represent the price tag. And lastly, it's definitely a hard one to chew through. You only need a few sprays to get by on this one. So yeah, if you're getting ready for winter like me, definitely check this one out. Do not wear it in summer. Even though I said it is on the lighter side of sweeter scents, I still would not wear it in that season. But yeah, anyway, that's it for today's video. I really appreciate the comments as always. Keep them coming. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe. It does help a lot, and like the video. That's all for today. I'll see you next time.